Hi and welcome to another episode of Toby's Barbecue Corner. Today we're making our ultimate meatloaf from scratch. Now what you need for it and how to do it, I'm going to show you in this episode. And this is what we need for today. Now, we don't actually need a whole lot of ingredients. So, what do we need? We need some pork shoulder, you need some roast beef, and that's, the roast beef in itself is kind of optional in terms of the quality of the meat. I mean, you can obviously use any kind of beef you want, as well as some pork belly without the skin. You need about 400 grams of crushed ice, you need some curing salt, and your favorite rub, as well as a Dutch oven for this cook. And as you can tell, there's some things lined up here, which we'll get to in a second. First, we're going to take care of the meats, and now as temperature is key on this dish, because obviously when you want to mince this, temperature is really key. So I put that in the freezer for a little while, roughly half an hour, 45 minutes. So they are nice and not solid, but you know. And then we're going to take off this up here, because obviously we don't want to have that in our dish later on. And then it just makes it a lot easier to slice, as you can tell, because it doesn't actually wobble about too much. And it's going to be much easier in our food grinder or the meat grinder in a second when you cut it up just like that. And then now the big pieces you can cut in strips as well. It just makes it a lot easier. I'm just going to throw all of that stuff into our consist form here, because we're going to mix it through with the other two meats in a second, and obviously we're going to season it. In essence, what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep the temperature below 12 degrees. That's why we also need the ice in a little while, simply because when the Thermomix actually starts working, it I don't know the exact English terminology, but when the meat basically gets mixed all the way through and it becomes a homogeneous mass of meat, then the temperature rises. Obviously, the more the meat has to work, or the more the meat gets spun around. So in that sense, you want to keep it as cool as possible. Right, I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll see you in a minute when we actually take care of the seasoning with the salt. Right, all cut up, as you can tell, those lengthy kind of strips. And then we're going to add the curing salt to it. Make sure you get it all. And then, as I said, your favorite rub. And obviously that will add a ton of flavor to it. Alright, here we go. And then we're just going to give it a bit of a mix. Also make sure that the meat itself mixes, not only the curing salt as well as the rub, but also that the different types of meats mix as well, because obviously you want to have a little bit of meat from everything, everywhere, after you have produced some ground beef or ground meat, not only beef. Alright, let me set up the meat grinder and I'll be right back. Right, the meat grinder is set up, so let's turn it on. And let's start grinding. Right, the meat has been minced. The Thermomix is set up. What we're going to do is we're going to put in 1/3 of the ice. The reason why we're doing it in smaller batches is because if that spins for too long and we put too much in from the very get-go, it gets too warm and then we lose the connection of that tissue. So what you want to do is you want to put in 1/3 of the ice, 1/3 of the meat, and obviously make sure you don't miss anything. And then we're going to create our mass that will then ultimately become our meatloaf. There we go. On it goes, and then we're going to start mincing. Just a couple of seconds, I would say about 30-35 seconds later, we're done. And this is what it looks like right now, and this is exactly the mass we're looking for. So we're going to put this straight into the Dutch oven and we're going to finish this up. Right, this is the last batch, as you can tell. This is already getting nice and full. So we're going to take it out and look how lovely that sticks to each other. So make sure you get all of it out. Obviously, if you don't have a Thermomix, use your kitchen machine. You know, obviously you want to have that ice, that crushed ice, almost dissolved entirely. And you can hear that when you hear it, kind of like there's like a cracking sound in the machine. Once that kind of disappears, you know that you have the right consistency. You don't want to overdo it because, as I said before, you don't want this to get too hot because otherwise you will lose the binding structure of the meat. So we're going to take that out, and then we're going to try and make that look a bit prettier by spreading it nicely all around in the Dutch oven. Now obviously, if there are still pieces of ice in there, don't worry about it. You know, obviously we're going to heat this up now, so they are going to melt and dissolve, and that would just add to the moisture that we're looking for, because obviously we don't want to burn it. You know, we don't want to overheat it and then it gets too dark. So a little bit of moisture should do it. But I think we're getting there. So I'll see you outside in a minute on the barbecue, and I'll explain the setup to you, and then we'll take it from there. Time for the barbecue. So what you're going to do is you want to go about half heat on the left and the right burner, and in the center one you go low, because obviously the cast iron skillet is rather cold, but in order to get some temperature in there, you want to you know, give it a little bit of power from underneath without burning the top. So we're going to close the lid and we're going to leave it in there for about an hour, and then we'll see how long it takes and what internal temperature we have. We're looking at an internal temperature of about 70 degrees. If you're doing that at an oven or in an oven, you're looking for 160 degrees all the way around. Right guys, there we go. We reached our internal temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, and when I said it takes an hour, it takes 70 minutes, boy was I mistaken. So overall, it now took exactly 2 hours to get to 70 degrees Celsius internal. Not entirely sure why. Either the 160 around it wasn't hot enough, or because of the temperature outside, the cast iron initially was too cold. Whatever it was, we now reached a temperature of 70 degrees, so I'm quite happy. I'm going to let it cool off just a little bit, then we're going to separate it and I'll show you the center cut. The resting time is over, so let's give it a center cut, and guys, it is obviously boiling hot as expected. And now, da-da-da-da! So, I think that looks absolutely awesome. And for the final step, let's cut ourselves a nice slice. And look at all these lovely air pockets in there. We'll grab a roll and we go the traditional way. Put on some mustard. There we go, both sides. And then we're just going to rest the slice on top. And there we go, guys. This is our ultimate meatloaf made in the Dutch oven. And we're gonna dig in now. Alright guys, that's it for today. This is already the second roll. I couldn't wait to dig into the first one. but this is super delicious, and you know, all it takes is a little bit of mustard, a piece of bread, a roll, whatever you want, and you can just dig in. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate a comment and a thumbs up. Please head over to that subscribe button for more great videos to come, and I hope to see you soon again at Toby's Barbecue Corner.